Hello, everyone, and welcome to this workshop, the Singapore Government Network workshop on how to deal with COVID-19 disruption. My name is Neil Cortis. Let me quickly introduce everyone on the call. So also on the call, we have Neha Thacker from the Singapore Government Global Network, and also leading the workshop, Dr. Jessie Chua. Now, Neha, before we start, maybe you could tell people about the SGN for people who aren't familiar with it.
Sure, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I am Neha. I am with Singapore Global Network. Some of you probably know me as this person who's sending regular updates on Telegram. That's if you're on Telegram. But regardless of whether you're on Telegram or not, make sure you scan that code that you see on your screens right now and become part of this network. So what is the Singapore Global Network all about? Well, we are part of the Economic Development Board. We're like super cool community that supports each other, that brings interesting events to each other, and we're just a fun group, really, as you can kind of tell right now. Well, and you can be part of this community by the virtue of being one of the three things. Either you're family of Singapore, that is, you're a Singaporean or a PR, or you're a friend of Singapore. That means you were living here before and not anymore. Or you're a fan of Singapore, you're just interested in this country, this little red dot far away somewhere. So if you qualify as one of these three, scan, join us, please, we'd love that. So that's what SGN is all about. And this workshop has been organized specifically by SGN for all of you and all of us, really. That's one thing we all have in common, the damn COVID. How do we deal with this? Well, I'm hoping we'll learn something from Dr. Chua. And Neil, over to you.
Thank you so much, Neha. Let me introduce Dr. Chua. Dr. Jessie Chua works at the Resilienz Clinic in Singapore. She's an advocate of raising mental health awareness and runs workshops and lectures in schools, companies, and in the health sector. She has an MA and a doctorate in clinical psychology from the California School of Professional Psychology in San Francisco and is a licensed psychologist in the state of California. She's kindly agreed to lead this workshop today, and we're going to talk about radical acceptance, I think, Dr. Chua.
Yes.
Cool. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. I got really excited there. Okay, so
I need to. I'm so sorry. Let me do a few more housekeeping things. I forgot. I'm so sorry. Here we go. That's the agenda. That's how we're going to spend our time. Presentation and then interaction, questions and answers, and a mindfulness exercise. Just on asking questions, this is how we want you to do it. You can. I should have remembered this. This is important.
We're too excited.
We got too excited. Please ask questions. You can either type them, other people can't see them, or you can speak live. And if you want to speak live, all we need you to do is use the little hand raising function on the control panel. And also we would really prefer you to have a headset like this or microphone like Dr. Chua, and then we'll all hear you better. That's enough for me now. Sorry, over to you, Dr. Chua.
We got really excited then, but hey, that's what life is about, right? We deal with disruption. Disruption would come, and then we take it in our hand, and then we look at it, and then we go with flow. So when I was asked to talk about, just to help people think about what to do with this whole COVID thing, so then I thought, you know what, a lot of my own patients are asking me the same question. What do I do? There's this future ahead. I don't know what is it about. I'm really scared. I think that's really a common question that a common response that I get from a lot of my patients. They tell me, I'm really scared. I don't know what's going on. What do I do? And when I think about this, and I always go back to this particular technique that I teach to a lot of people in DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. And this is one core skill I thought would be very, very helpful when we talk about disruption. So this particular technique is called radical acceptance. It's created by Dr. Marsha Lindahan. So she's the creator of dialectical behavioral therapy. There she is, really cool lady. So she talks about, so what she means by radical acceptance, she breaks it down into two parts. Radical means all the way, complete, total, right? And acceptance is exactly what it sounds like. You just accept everything that's going on right now in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, in your body, everything. You just take it in and you go, this is what it is, right? So let's just go in a little bit and see what's all this about. So it's a little bit slow, but we'll get there in a little moment. Anyway, I think it's thinking, but it's okay. That's what disruption is about. You think and then we'll move. But so the idea is that when we just accept all the way, we take it in and see reality for what it is, right? That's when the pain and suffering would stop, because we see reality as it is. So for example, you see on the wall behind me, there are stickers on the wall. So what this does, what radical acceptance just basically talks about is, there are stickers on the wall, there are stickers on the wall. Reality as it is has to be accepted. That's what I see, and that's what it is, right? And she talks about how, like, for everyone's future, there is some kind of limitation. We cannot do everything the way we want it to be. It's not just free flow, you know. So well, of course, she's saying that at least those limitation has to be realistic. So for example, if we are talking about, like, hey, there's a red light, it's red light now, you don't cross the road because you'll be hit by a car, you don't, right? She's not talking about, oh, you know, I have this negative thinking and I'm stuck with this negative thinking. That doesn't count. That's not a limitation. Okay, so she talks about practical limitation that's in the world that, you know, it's kind of the same for a lot of people. And then she talks about how everything and anything in this world has a cost. The moment that we're in right now has a cause that built up to another cause, and then that cause caused this, and then it built up to this exact moment. This is what happened, right? And then the last point, which is very important, is that even though life right now can be really, really painful, when we take steps to kind of enrich our life, this life that we're talking about can still be worth living for, even though it's painful, right? So this is the goal of radical acceptance, and this is the goal of her technique of her therapy, where she really talks about seeing things for what it is. Because if we try to fight it, that's when suffering would come, and we get really bitter. Why is it not this way? It has to be this way. I'm really angry, you know. So that's when the problem comes. Okay, so let's go to the next one. And it's thinking again. There we go. Right. So radical acceptance, a lot of times when I teach this concept to my patients, they always say, Jessie, so you're telling me to just accept it? Means I have to agree with it, but I don't agree with it. And I said, you know what? Radical acceptance is not about whether I agree with the thing or not. So behind me, there are stickers on the wall. Whether I agree with it or not, the stickers are on the wall. Whether I agree with it or not, COVID is here to stay. I cannot make it go away. I cannot erase it from our mind. It's just there, right? I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just saying I see it, so be it, right? So radical acceptance is not about I'm being passive. I'm not doing something to change my life. You know, it's not about I'm against the change. I don't want to do something about it. It's not that. It's not about being compassionate. It's not that either. It's just seeing reality as it is. So if I were to give a very short explanation as to why or how Dr. Marsha Linderhan came up with this idea. So what happened was she went and studied with a group of Zen Buddhists, right? And she went to the monastery and she stayed there for a few months, you know, for a while. I'm not sure if it's a few months, for a while, right? And so she was studying the religion. Then she was thinking, like, okay, you know what? The first thing to know about Dr. Marsha Linderhan is that she had borderline personality disorder. It was very hard for her to deal with emotion. She doesn't know what to do with emotion. When she's in crisis, she just breaks down. She tries to kill herself, you know. So this is out there in the story. So as she studied psychology, she realized that none of the therapy when she was being treated worked for her. She said something was missing. All the therapy was about changing. No therapy was talking about just accepting change, right? So she went and studied with this group of Zen Buddhists. And the story goes, when the Buddha was really young, because his father, the sage was saying, like, this baby is going to become a impressive person, but he'll never be a conqueror or a king. The father's like, no, I want him to be a king, So the father decided to alter reality for the little kid, the little Buddha, right? So whenever the little Buddha asked the father questions about death, about OH and stuff like that, he would lie. He would lie to the Buddha. So the kid's like, So, but this is exactly how it forms the entire DBT radical acceptance. The reason why she says you see reality for what it is. Once you start judging it, once you start fighting it, you're not seeing the thing for what it is. So COVID is here. If we cover our eyes, we do all these things, when we take our hands away, it's still there, right? So that's what she talks about it. It's there, it'll be here for a while. We gotta learn how to see it for what it is, and then deal with it. So we'll talk a little bit about how to deal with it towards the end. But this is the core understanding of why she's talking, why radical acceptance is built on seeing reality for what it is. So I want you to remember this, everyone. Remember this: seeing reality for what it is. Okay. So let's move on to this one. This slide talks about why. Why do we have to accept reality? Now, the first thing you think about is when you reject reality, it doesn't change it. It doesn't change anything. You fight it. It causes you pain. And so when Dr. Marsha Linehan talks about pain, she says that pain is inevitable. Pain happens everywhere, anytime. When we do something, we'll feel a certain emotion. And for accepting reality, when we fight, there'll be pain. When we don't fight, there'll still be pain, right? So she's saying pain is inevitable. Pain is nature's way of telling us that something's wrong. We don't run away from it, we lean into it. And we say, tell me, what do you want to teach me, this pain that I'm feeling, right? Because I think a lot of times, a lot of us, and a lot of my patients, myself included, when we feel pain, we run. We see that, we look for the exit and we bolt for, we don't want to feel pain. No one wants to feel pain. But when we try to reject this reality, that pain that we originally feel becomes suffering because we are fighting reality, right? And then when we fight and we suffer, it keeps us stuck in very tricky emotion, like resentment, like anger, depression, anxiety, all those not so fun stuff, right? We get stuck there. So when we accept reality for what it is, so we see things for what it is. There are stickers on my wall, right? And you accept it. You may be very sad at first. You go, I really don't like the stickers. I really want to change it, You feel sad, of course, but once you accept reality, you accept that the stickers are there, you go, you know what? So be it. And you become calm. The moment that calmness set in, that's when we can do something to make ourselves feel better, right? Okay, so far, so good. I hope people are still following me. Okay. Now this is where things are a little bit interesting. So I'm going to talk to you guys about how to practice it. And because this is an interactive workshop, I'm going to get you guys all to do it with me. Then we're going to get, Neil to just see if anyone's interested to just unmute your mic, tell me how it was like to do that exercise, so which I'll get to in a little bit. But let me go through the steps, right? How to practice radical acceptance. So the first thing I always tell people is you gotta know that you're questioning and you're fighting reality. So that's when you go, oh my goodness, I really hate the stickers on my wall. I really hate it. That's your first step. I really hate this COVID thing, right? That's your first step, observing that you're fighting reality, you're resisting reality, right? And then the second thing you do, you remind yourself that, this really, really terrible stickers on my wall are just there. And I cannot change it right now. I can't just rip it off. It's just there, right? Then I think to myself, well, there's a reason that led up to this moment where the stickers are here. So there are reasons or causes that COVID happened, event that got us to where we are today, so there's cause, right? And then she talks about, so Dr. Linehan talks about then, how do we then practice acceptance? And it can be very, very different techniques, It can be deep breathing. It can be taking a walk. It can be sleeping. It can be anything. As long as you have access to your 5 senses, You can use them to cope through any of the senses, right? Anyone. You can stand at your window and look at things, right? You can cook something really nice and you can smell it, and you're touching your stuff, right? Creative. But the one technique that I thought I wanted to try with you guys, right? It's something called the half smile technique. Okay, so this is what I'm going to get everybody to do. So Neil's going to do it with me. Okay.
I'm smiling too much.
Okay. Now, before we do anything, okay, before we start anything, okay, take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath, right? You can open or you can close your eyes. I'll leave it to you, right? You take a deep breath, and all I want you to do now, right, is I want you to relax all the facial muscle in your face. And don't make any facial expression. Just let everything relax and be really neutral. So I want you to just notice when there is no expression on your face, when the face is really relaxed, right? How does the body feel in this moment? Any thoughts that would come to your mind? Any emotions that would come to you? I want you to remember this experience, okay? And now, I want you to think of something that's making you feel really, really irritated, really frustrated. You know, you really don't like this whole thing happening, really hate this, wish I can change it. You know, I want you to just conjure just enough memory, just enough of that feeling to come up, right? And with the eyes open or closed, right? I want you to gently and kindly, I want you to just gently, kindly, using 2 fingers, right? And you put your two index finger to the corners of your lips, and I want you to just gently push them up, like a half smile. You're smiling, half. Push it up. And then you let go of your fingers and keep that half smile. As you think about the thing that's annoying you and stuff, keep that smile on the face. Take a breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Keeping the smile in through the nose again, the next breath. Out through the mouth. One last time, maintaining the smile in through the nose, out through the mouth. And now you ask yourself, as I'm maintaining that half smile, how are you feeling about the situation that was annoying to you? What are you thinking right now? How does the body feel? So this is called the half smile technique, right? So I'm going to get everybody to take a deep breath as you gently and kindly wake up to the sound of my voice, and then come back to the present moment. Just gently flutter your eyes, open them, get used to the light. This technique is something that I teach a lot of my patients, right? Because a lot of times when they get very, very upset, everything goes out the door, at the window, right? I'm not using any of my coping skill. I'm not thinking straight, nothing. So I always tell them to slow down like that, just like that. You just slow everything down. You practice a half smile. And why? Of course, the first few times when you do it, the brain's like, what are you doing? I don't really understand, right? But after you do it more and more, the brain starts to communicate with your heart. It teaches the heart that my face is doing this. I must be feeling something different right now. So when I'm smiling, it's very hard to be angry. It's very hard to be angry because your face would communicate to the brain, I'm not angry right now. I'm kind of smiling right now. So I think I'm feeling a little bit more positive. So every time you try to practice, it gets better and better. For the first few times, you know, we need some practice there. So it's something that you can regularly try. So this is called the half smile technique. You can do it when you're irritated. You can do it the first thing you wake up in the morning. You can do it when you're walking around your house, because we cannot leave our house right now. You can pick up things and you smile to it, you know. So it's a half smile technique. So it's really tricking the brain to tell the brain, hey, you're not angry right now. You're feeling okay. You're feeling okay, like that, right? So she talks about this under the when she talks about practicing the accepting with the whole self, creative technique. So this is one. So if people are interested, you can go Google this, you know, and you can learn more, you know, to use this technique in other situations. Okay, right. Then the next one, thinking. There we go. This next one is called opposite action. Okay, this is the one that I use myself a lot. Okay, so whenever I notice I'm fighting something, when I'm really angry, I'm really like upset, I ask myself, well, I don't really want to keep feeling this way, you know, so I'm going to do something opposite. So what this means is that if I am feeling, say, anger, I'm changing my action that would generate a different emotion to what I'm feeling right now. So if I'm upset and I want to feel something different, I would go, say, watch a comedy, right? So she's really creative in this way, right? She would really give you technique to actually change the moment, right? So we're not fighting the anger, we're doing something different. You do something opposite, right? If the body really, so let's say you're working from home, you're really tired, restless, and you go, one more sentence, come on. The body's like, no, 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 you need a break. Stop. The body's telling you, you need to stop and do something different. That's an opposite action, right? So you would stand up and go take a break, right? So that's an example of an opposite action. And then the next thing that we talk about is exactly this, you know, how when we were doing the half smile technique, I would ask you to pay attention to what's going on in your body. And this is important, why we need to attend to the sensations in our body, because a lot of times when there's pain, we tell ourselves, don't pay attention to it, it will go away. We always do that. It doesn't. The brain works in this very interesting way. When you try to ignore something that's happening in the body, it stays longer and stays as long as it can until it has your attention. Yes, yes, that's our brain, right? But what makes it go away is when we go, wow, my shoulders really, really hurt right now. Oh my gosh, my neck. Wow. When I think of this situation, it really gets my body really tense. The moment you do this and you say, wow, I'm really feeling all these things, the brain goes, okay, she knows, she hears us, she's heard us. We can let it go now, right? Because you attend to it, you acknowledge its presence. Then, when you accept that this is kind of how you're thinking about things, this is kind of how the body is feeling about it, then the emotions would come. Disappointment, sadness, grief, you know, or anger, it would come. The key is not to run away from it. The key is to say, come what may, come to me. Because when we run away from our emotion, it will keep chasing us until, just like the body sensation, until you acknowledge it, right? Because I think what's tricky is that we're from different parts of the world. Different parts of the world have different ideas about what emotions mean, to what extent emotions can be accepted in that culture or even in the family, right? So when I talk about radical acceptance and I tell people like, hey, we need to let the emotion come, people get like really scared, like, huh? Why? No, I don't want to. No, you know. But when you actually allow this to come up, you teach the body that you can manage this. I'm not afraid. Throw anything at me, right? And you get good at it. You get better and better at it. And then the last point, which is very, very important, is exactly knowing that even though there's pain in my life right now, we cannot leave the house. I'm fighting with my wife. I hate it. I don't want to be in the same house. My kids screaming. Take a deep breath. It's very painful right now, but my life is still worth living for. Because why? All this will pass. It's not permanent. All this will eventually pass. Right? So this is key. This is key that we want to remember this. Okay, all right. So these are some things that we kind of I was planning to kind of talk to you guys about, right? And this is all the presentation is about. And then why is it so short? It's so short because I want to talk to you guys about, what have you guys been trying to kind of use to manage the COVID-19 situation, the disruption? Can we add some radical acceptance? If you have a question, please come in, talk to us about it, and then let's discuss and see how can we just apply some techniques from radical acceptance into your life to think about how can we better it to make life worth living for. Or if you want to you want to unmute a mic to talk about how doing that exercise was, that half smile technique. How was that like for you? We can also do that, So let's Neil.
Well, look, so just to repeat what Dr. Chua said, if you want to talk live, we'd love that. Raise your hand. But I've got some questions that we've already had.
Yes,
so
yes.
I'll just read it out. What about accepting these events, but cocooning yourself from future hurt? People who want to take action somehow to protect themselves in future.
So we are talking about we're accepting things as we are right now, but then putting a lot of safety net around us. Is that what the person means?
I don't know, but the idea is that you're trying to. From reading that, I feel that there's this urge to try and make things better. So in the future, we want to create a cocoon. We want to protect ourselves in the future. Yes, cocooning to tune out, using cocooning to tune out future hurt.
Okay. So when people say they want to cushion themselves and prevent themselves from future hurt, Dr. Linehan would tell you that ain't gonna work. Because why? Because life, as we're living right now, all of us will feel different emotions. We will feel pain. We cannot run away from it. It's inevitable. That's what she's saying, right? It's inevitable. And pain is a way of, it's nature's way of telling us that something is wrong. So when pain comes, let's say we remove the barrier, and then we ask ourselves, why do we want to first put on that barrier? Maybe that would be the important question to think about. Why do you think you cannot deal with future hurt, that you need to protect yourself now? So that would be something you want to think about, because I think all of us are resilient and the coping skills are innate to us. We are born with it. We have that innate skill to survive. But because of different life experiences, because of different disappointment, or when we stuff the emotion down, then we cannot deal with the situation. We think we cannot, but actually we can. So I would say that, ask yourself first, why do you want to protect yourself from future hurt? You can never do that, because it's only natural that we will face pain, we'll face hurt in the future. You cannot stop that from happening.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
How important, so we've been talking about accepting emotions, pain. This is the question. How important is it for myself to acknowledge my emotion versus for the people around me to acknowledge my emotion? What's the role of the other people in helping or hindering you?
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about radical acceptance, it starts with us. It starts with us first, right? So that whole idea about radical acceptance and acceptance is you. Whatever that's going on around you, in you, outside of you, it's the main person that's constant is yourself, right? So it starts with you first. If other people cannot deal with their baggage, for you to kind of try to intervene in that reality, that's you fighting it, right? So the idea is whatever is happening right now, you just see it as, that person's has really poor coping skill. I wish I can help them, God bless them, but I gotta start first with caring for what's going on in me first. So it would be like acknowledging the fact that it's really hard for them. It's really hard for me too. It's, this is really tough for them. It's really tough for me. We're all trying to survive. They're trying to survive, So I think it always starts with ourselves first. Then it can radiate outward, because nothing can work until we love ourselves first. So that's what radical acceptance also, well, another part of the treatment talks about validation and compassion, you know. So when we can do those things, you are able to start validating the efforts that you put in to try to better your life, to make it better. You know, you see the compassion that you put in for yourself, to be less critical of your thoughts, your feelings, you know, and you do things that kind of help you feel better, move your life forward. In the part where she says life can be still worth living for when there's pain. Yeah.
Okay, now someone just asked a question. This is very relevant. Lots of people are
Okay.
worried about income. They're worried about very practical
Yeah.
money issues if the economy is
Yeah.
going to be very bad.
Yeah.
How does this play into that? Because it feels like you should be doing stuff. It's very, you know, you should be trying to do stuff to improve your situation.
Yes.
How do you deal with that kind of money worry, very practical issue in this context?
Yes. You know, okay, so the first thing I always tell people, I mean, this is not the first time I'm getting this question. My patients ask me this, you know, they say, Jessie, this is great, you know, but hey, I need to survive. I say, yes, I get it. All of us need to eat. All of us need to survive. But see, think about this first. When you worry, your brain, basically the frontal lobe, right? The frontal lobe is occupied by all these thoughts of like, what, oh my God, like this is happening. Oh my gosh, oh my, I need to do this, I need to do that. What should I do next? And when your mind is in that space of worry, you cannot do anything. Cannot do anything, right? So when we talk about radical acceptance and how it plays into this situation, I always say, you know, the first thing when you are able to acknowledge the fact that, hey, I'm suffering right now. This is really terrible. I really don't like it. You know, I wish things can be better for me. The moment you do this, that nagging thing in the front of this is a frontal lobe, right? The nagging thing starts to decrease because you every time you acknowledge it, one less thing happens in your brain. One less thing happens in your brain, and then after a while, that's when a deep calmness would set in. And when that time comes, that's when you can really focus and you think, okay, great. Now, what is my next step? What's the next thing I can do? I've acknowledged all this anxiety. I've acknowledged all these things, right? What is the next thing I can do? So okay, now the idea is money. Okay, where do I find money? Okay, I need to find a job. Okay, I need to find a job. Tell me, where do I go look for a job? And then you start thinking, and you start actually carrying the plan out to look for ways to better your life, right? So that's the thing, man. Worrying doesn't change anything either. It actually use up important space in your RAM right here, right? Once you acknowledge it, you take it away, you can really do things towards that goal, like that.
Now, okay, I've so many. I want to ask one more question on this attitude thing.
Yes.
Many people in the questions submitted in advance said things like, how do I remain positive? How do I not worry? How do I be confident? This kind of thing, which is very natural.
Yes.
Have they got it? Are they framing the problem wrong, do you think?
Okay, you know, I think recently when I was doing some research and I was doing some reading, and there is this group of psychologists that came out that were really, really angry. And they're saying like, you know, why are there people out there telling people like, you must be positive, you must be this, you must be that, you know, they're really angry. So they call this positivity toxicity. Because there are people out there who cannot do all these things. So are you saying that this group of people that cannot do all this thing has something wrong with them? No. Emotions exist on a continuum, right? We go from this way to this way. We can experience anything in this continuum. No one's right, no one's wrong, right? If in that moment it's hard for you to be positive, radical acceptance would say, so be it. This is my reality right now. It's very hard for me to be positive right now. So it's like saying like, you know, something really terrible, like say, you know, I lost my job. How can I be happy about this, right? Yes, naturally, anyone who has lost their job would feel that sense of defeat, would feel angry, would feel it's natural. You can't expect this person to be happy in the next 5 minutes. That's not natural, right? So what the theory talks about, or what this practice talks about is that if in this moment you cannot be positive, then don't force yourself. So be it. Because eventually, when you're able to accept the fact that you're not doing okay right now, things would start to be okay for you. And I'm not lying though. People tend to, when my patient look at me and go, really, Jessie, really? And I said, if you really practice it, it really, really does change your life. I've done this practice for 10 years now. So DBT, I've done this for 10 years now. And it has really changed my life. I've become calmer. My temper used to be very, very bad. My husband can attest to this, but now I'm much calmer because I know that, hey, if I'm not excited about something right now, so be it. I accept it. I do what I need to do to kind of improve the current moment. You know, it can be any technique that, you know, she talks about, and you get over it. And then you start thinking, what can I do next to help myself feel better? And that's when you start to feel better, because you do things that help you feel better when you're ready for it. So that's the thing.
I've got a great question. This is in a similar theme. Some people work better with a bit of pressure. I feel like this too. Some people work better with a bit of pressure, causing us to take actions. How can radical acceptance be used to reduce the worry to an optimum level rather than lowering it too much that we become lazy?
Well, this is a really creative question, I think. Okay, so I think, you know, before we talk about radical acceptance, right? First, we need to know that there are two types of stress. There's distress, right? And then there's something called eustress. Distress is the one that a lot of us experience, right? It's the one that we procrastinate. You know, we are so in distress that we procrastinate, we become lazy. You know, we do too much or excessively, right? But eustress is the one that says, hey, this is an optimum level. This is where you're doing well. This is where you're doing great, right? So when you ask, how can I apply radical acceptance skill to know where this level is? The first thing I'll tell you is that you gotta be able to connect the thought, the feeling, and the whole body experience. So exactly how that whole practice talks about, you observe what's going on here, what's going on in the body, and you attend to it, the feelings, right? Then you'll learn, hey, I think this is the tipping point where I think it sends me into distress. I'm gonna step back a little bit from here, right? And then if there are times when you're in that level of eustress, that optimum level of stress, and then that's when you pause and you ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling right now? And how is my body doing? Because you want the body to remember this moment. And then that's where, and in the next time when you need yourself to be in this space, you're able to conjure it, because you know what the body is thinking, feeling, and doing when you're in that space. So that will be your first clue. You got to listen to the body. You're going to hear me say this a lot over and over. You got to listen to the body. The body will tell you. If the body is, okay, so this is the thing. Sometimes the body procrastinates or becomes lazy because it needs to rest. Right? Because it needs to rest. So sometimes it's about slowing down and you ask yourself, how many hours have I been sitting in front of the computer? Or how many hours have I been stuck using the phone, replying emails? Is it because I've been so tired? I didn't sleep well last night. That's why I'm feeling really lazy right now. I want to do something different. Listen to the body, because I think the body is telling you something. You know, so it's something to think about. Yeah.
I want to talk about sleep quickly, if we can.
Oh, yes.
This is some question someone asked in advance. What would you advise on dealing with sleep patterns affected during this disruption?
Yeah, because I think because we are working from home, a lot of us are working from home. There's no structure. Your boss can call you at 11, at 3, or you're working with people in a different time zone. You know, that today I have a patient. He was telling me that he needs to make calls to New York, and you know the time difference in New York and Singapore. So his sleep is really terrible right now. Okay, so we talk about how we can set some kind of routine. And I think this was something that if some of you tune into the last webinar that Dr. Sherry Chan was talking about, the same thing, we have to have some kind of routine. So you start the day with a routine that let's say, you know, you get out of the bed, you brush your teeth, you do something. Say you walk up to the mirror and you tell yourself, enough, something like that. And you tell yourself, I'm going to start my day. So you set up a routine, okay? And then you get to lunchtime, say, for example, you get to lunchtime and you kind of do any ritual if you can. So for example, like, you drink from your cup and you go, you know what, now it's lunchtime. I'm going to stop right here. And you walk away. And you come back from lunch. So it's about developing routine, right? And also knowing when to stop work, when to kind of turn off your phone, when to say, hey, I know this, I know you would contact me on this, I just want you to know that I cannot reply this immediately. I'll check this like 3 times a day. You tell people those things. You set that boundary. Different industries, okay, first I have to be respectful, because I think different industries have different needs. For example, the client I was talking about, my patient, he works in the finance industry, in the banks. You can't really turn off your phone. So he's thinking about other ways. Can I do, instead of being so anxious, can I write things down? If I have a call, sure, I have to tend to it. But I cannot fight it, because this is my reality right now. If the call is coming in, I gotta pick it up. So it's about having very clear routines. When do you sleep? When do you eat? When do you wake up? When do you start? And you keep to those routines to the best you can. Because once you let it go, then you start seeing that your sleep become disrupted. You start to be a little bit more lax. You start to be, no, never mind. I'll sleep in a little bit more. That's when the problem comes. So something to think about, routines.
Can we talk about a couple of things which are in some way things where you need to think about your attitude to them, and in some ways they're kind of practical problems? And so space, conflicts at home because of space, and maybe you're irritated by your partner, or they're irritated by you. How would you approach that in this context?
Yeah, I oh my gosh, I feel everybody. I am stuck home with my parents, with my brother, and my 3 rabbits. It's a lot of people in a very small space. When I'm trying to do my work, my bunny's like next to me, like, trying to get my attention, and I cannot focus. So I think the one thing that we gotta do first, I think people are gonna hate on me saying this, right? You have to first acknowledge the fact that you're stuck. You're stuck with this circumstance, right? This is what it is. After you validate this, you start thinking. So then I start thinking, okay, there's a lot of noise. I cannot work when there's noise. That's the number one thing that bothers me. So people start I'm going to get people to start thinking, when you're stuck at home, what is that one thing that you really, really cannot take? Right. For me, it's noise, right? So if I want to really say focus on something, I need it to be really quiet. So what I do, I have my headset, and it has noise cancellation. So things can be really crazy behind me. I put my headset on, and then I just do my work, right? You can put up a sign. Say if you have little kids, right? You have little kid, you teach them, right? Okay, when mommy puts up this sign, it takes a while. Okay? I'm not saying it happens immediately. I always tell parents, right? When I'm talking about parenting, it takes a while. Okay, you gotta teach them, it takes a while. You tell them that when mommy puts up this sign, this color, for example, if they're very young, mommy puts up this color, I need you to wait. Mommy will come to you. You don't knock the door. Mommy will come to you, right? Older kids, you tell them that, hey, I know you really need me right now. I'll come back, in a little bit. What I teach older kids, parents, to do with older kids is I teach them that if the kid needs something, they don't just go, hey, mommy, mommy's in the middle of a call and they go, I teach them to say, hey, you teach the kid to put their hand on your arm, right? You just do this. And mommy just had to go look at the kid, and you just go. And the kid is trained to know that when mommy do this, mommy knows that I'm waiting for her. And I'll go outside and I'll just wait for her, right? And with the partner, okay, this is the tricky thing. I absolutely acknowledge that this is very hard. Sometimes they want your immediate attention, right? Do not ever bring this up when everybody is angry. So when I do couples therapy, I always tell couples, don't try to negotiate something when you're angry, right? You negotiate this when everybody's calm, right? So you say, hey, tomorrow at and this time I'm expecting a call. Okay, I'm gonna give you my schedule. This is what I'm doing, right? During this time, you cannot knock on the door. I know you need me, but this time I really need you to respect this time. Other times you can come to me, right? So when you're really clear with your spouse, right, what they can do and they cannot do, and you communicate that very clearly to them, they will be less likely to disrupt your day. So that's what I'm going to say. You can try that. Neil.
Now everyone, we've got one more exercise to do. So if you've got a burning question, now is the time. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, and nobody wanted to talk to us.
There's still a chance if you want to ask a question live, but I've got a couple more. And
okay.
But type or put your hand up to ask live. But here's maybe my last question. Lots of people asked about the future.
Yes.
And uncertainty. Everyone, the word uncertainty. How does that? And people are worried, and they're wanting to kind of control the future and make the best of the future. And it feels very uncertain, so they don't know what to do. Does this work for that? And how practically can people, try and create a good future for themselves?
Yeah, I think at the end, I mean, the goal of the theory is really to create a life that's worth living for. So yes, we're talking about the future, right? But the thing to remember, if you forget everything that I tell you, and this is the only thing you remember from what I'm telling you, is that you got to remember your body is in this present moment right now. It's in 2020. It's May 2nd right now. And it's in this moment. When we think about the future and we get really worried about the future, it hasn't happened yet. Our body, our physical body cannot go there, right? So when we do this, when we are resisting this reality and we want to go to that other reality, that's where we suffer and we have pain, right? So first thing is you got to remind yourself, hey, I see it. I'm really worried about this, this uncertainty thing. I really don't like it. I'm really scared. I don't know I'm going to expect. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. None of us know. There'll be people who think that they know. They think that they talk like they know. Nobody knows, right? Because no one can predict how a virus would move. Nobody knows, right? It's about being able to say, hey, you know what? So be it. Let's just see a week from now, 2 weeks from now. Let's just see what happens, because no one can predict how the economy is going to change. Like people in America, they keep wanting to go back to work, right? But what are you working for? There's no one out there buying anything. Everyone's at home staying safe, but you want to go to work. There's no income, there's no trade going on right now, So something for us to think about.
Okay, I've got a this does link in.
Okay.
What if you're worried about an injustice? And in particular, but let me be particular.
Yes.
Singapore is living on a board. How can we cope with the increase in discrimination and attacks on Asians, which is happening, as we know?
Yes. You've asked that question, and I'm trying to rein myself in. I think this is something that's really close to my heart. Racism and discrimination. This is the thing. I think a lot of people right now wants to figure out, and they're really angry, right? They're really angry that this whole thing came out from a particular country associated with a certain group of people, and they're very angry and they're blaming these people. These are the people that's causing my uncertainty, right? I think for us, the people that we are watching this, I mean, one thing we know, that this is what's going on right now. There's nothing we can do. We can acknowledge the anger, the fear, and all these things. I mean, I'm supposed to go to the US, and I'm so scared, and I'm here. I didn't go, and to be in that space to say, hey, you know what? This is what's going on right now. I'm really upset about it. Is there anything in this moment in my life that I can do for myself to help myself feel better? Can it be doing social justice? Can it be standing up for something? Can it be writing to the papers? Can it be going on social media to do some movement? There are things you can do. Don't ever think that your action is really, really small. Every small action can build up to a really big success. So I think about that. What is something that you can actually do for yourself, or for just to help yourself feel better, and then start that movement, that advocate in me, just would really light up. This is something that I'm really passionate about. I can go on and on about this, but I'm going to rein it in to say, hey, think about what can you do to help yourself feel better about this, because the world is really, really scary right now.
Okay. Should we do our final exercise, Dr. Chua? Yeah.
Should we go? I would say, why don't we show everybody the resources first,
Yeah.
and then I'll close my entire presentation, and then you take over from there. Okay. So this is these are some resources that I was thinking that I want to give people. If you're in Singapore, you want to talk to somebody, give us a call, drop us an email, either you can see somebody here, or if we hear of a situation that we think maybe we know of another practitioner that can be more suited to help you, we can make the referral, so that would be a good place to start. The Singapore Psychological Society, so Dr. Sherry Chan, she and her group of counsels started this community where she gathered a lot of psychologists, myself included, to provide help for people who are struggling with COVID-19. So there are a lot of psychologists on there that are providing either pro bono or lower rate therapy for people. So if you're interested, go up there. If you're in Singapore, you can try that. Some of them do Skype sessions, so you can, even though you're in another part of the world, they will be able to serve you as well through those teleconsult. Then we have those, government, the website that you can go to. On this particular link that I put on there, it has all the helplines in Singapore. So if anyone would need anyone to, if you need anyone to talk to, please go there. Okay, there's this app that I use a lot, and this is called the Stop, Breathe and Think app. So if you go to your App Store, your Apple Store, you put in this Stop, Breathe, Think, you're gonna see this little red app with a little cloud as the logo. This app helps to connect you with your thought, feelings, and behavior. So it's something I want you to try. Go play around with it. It can help with anxiety, coping with very difficult emotion. So there are practices in there that can support you. And if people are interested in DBT, Dr. Marsha Lin, that's her website. You can go to look for more resources for clients, for yourself basically, or even family members, to learn more about DBT. All right. So then here is where we're gonna do the closing practice. Okay, so this is what I'm going to get everybody to do with me, right? So we're going to go to the next slide. It's a blank slide. Okay, nothing's there. Okay, so we're going to do something called the 3 closing breath, right? It's not going to take very long. Okay, 3 closing breath. And at every breath, I'm going to say something to you, and you try to your very best to see if you can do it. Okay, so let's start. So you sit comfortably, either in the seat, or you want to lie down, I'll leave it to you, right? You can open your eyes or close them, as whichever one that makes you feel safe. Make sure both feet touching the ground if you're sitting on a chair. And just breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Let's take the first deep breath in. As you breathe in, I want you to allow any tension, any pain, any suffering to bubble up to the awareness. At the second breath, as you breathe in, let all that energy gather. And when you breathe out, I want you to push all that stale, negative air that carries that kind of resentment, anger, whatever it may be, push it out of the system. You go shh. And then the last breath, I want you to try to find an area in your body that has been suffering, that has been really stressed or really tense. I want you to locate this area and try to the best you can. I want you to direct some love, kindness, and compassion to it. So it can be something as simple as, oh, my heart, thank you so much for beating, because I get to live another day. Oh, you know what? Thank you so much, my legs, because I can still walk. So find an area in the body and then direct kindness to it. Breathe as we're doing this. Notice the thoughts, feelings, body sensation that comes in this moment. Take one breath here as we gently, kindly reconnect the muscles in the body, gently fluttering the eyes open, adjusting to the light. Half smile if you can. There we go. Thank you for joining me. Neil.
Thank you, Dr. Chua. That was excellent. That was excellent. I'm too relaxed now. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so I think we might have Neha back for a moment, just to talk for. Oh no, sorry. Look, I'm now remembering what we're up to. Please give us feedback. Please give us feedback. Either I think my producer is going to chat that link out to you. There we go. That is the feedback survey. There is a QR code as well. Yeah, we'd really appreciate the feedback. That would feed into the next thing. Neha, do you want to finish up by telling us about upcoming stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi everyone again. Thank you so much, Dr. Chua. That was fantastic. Thank you. I mean, that was really brilliant. It was. I definitely learned a lot of new things, to begin with what DPT even stands for and what it means in practice. So really appreciate it. And thank you, Neil, for moderating this whole session. This was fantastic. So for the SGN community, 3 main things. Number 1, please give us feedback. When you tell us what you like, what you don't like, it actually helps us do better and show up better for you as a community. So please give us feedback. Number 2, the upcoming events. Well, that's another good thing about giving us feedback. In the feedback, we also have an option for you to tell us what you want to hear from about, like what are the topics that interest you? What are the concerns you have? Which then helps us decide what kinds of events we should have, which is bringing me to the second point, that is the upcoming events. So on May 5th, we have a product management, ask me anything, a very techie, geeky, nerdy, but probably cool nerds kind of event. So please tune in for that. And on 7th May, we have the traditional Chinese medicine telehealth talk, which is again, touching on a subject that we have discovered the community really is interested in. So that's number 2. So please tell us what you want, and we'll keep adding to this list of upcoming events. And speaking of upcoming events, in exactly an hour from now, there's another event, which is Women in Tech in London. So if that's of interest, I will send the information over on Telegram right away. And the final, third most important thing, please register with SGN. We've sent you the link in the chat box. The QR code was shared earlier. The main reason is basically threefold. Number 1, we can then update you about events that are coming up. Number 2, you'll also be updated about important information from Singapore, whether it's, the checklist before you travel back to Singapore, or even non-COVID important updates related to a country that clearly interests you for some reason. So whether you're family or friend, that is. So it's really important that you're part of the network so we can ensure that you're updated. And number 3, by registering with SGN, you're part of this community where you can show up for each other as well and be part of this network. So please register with us. That's it from me.
Okay, so I've just chatted out the link again, so you can just click directly on that. I think we're done. Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you so much, Dr. Chua, and good luck, everybody. See you soon.